Good morning. My name is John Haas, and I'm one of the licensed professional practitioners here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Prescott. Welcome to a beautiful Sunday morning where we're starting to come back into the center and also offering a remote service. So this I call the hybrid service, and it's going to be great. It's a beautiful spring day. There's a little bit of a breeze. The bees are buzzing around the wisteria in our backyard. And I'm just really grateful to be here this morning. So join with me. Allow the earth to hold you. Find that spot in your chair and just notice. Notice your breath. Notice as you inhale and exhale. Notice if there's anything that you need to attend to, and just let it sit to the side for a moment. So today, we're thinking about the winds of change, and I found a great poem. It says, "Wind blows from every direction. Wind blows to every direction. And the winds of change carry the clouds and thunder. And the winds of change carry the clouds and thunder away. Blow, beautiful winds, blow." So if it's comfortable, you can close your eyes and just allow the noticing of your breath, the little sounds perhaps in your house or there at the center. You might notice if something comes up and you have to move a little bit, or your thoughts might come and go like the clouds that the wind blows. But you can always come back to this moment, this now moment, where your breath holds you, and we're reminded that it's God's breath. It's the breath that blows the wind. We'll spend some time in silence, allowing the water of now to flow over us. And you may consider the thought, should your mind, like mine, sometimes wander, I'll just come back to a thought. And today, I step with delight into the unknown. 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 Daily, I step with delight into the unknown. So today, and for the remainder of this week, just notice the peace that comes, the ease that comes, the best way to be. If you don't try to predict the next moment or control the winds of change around you, allow yourself to be a center of love, giving, and allowing. Namaste.
Good morning. Thank you, John, for that beautiful meditation. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in Prescott, Arizona. Welcome to those who are at the center physically today and to those of you online. My name is Kira Molitor, and I am pleased and honored to be stepping into the position of President of the Board of Trustees, and I thank the board for their support. We're happy to announce we have a soft opening date for the Children's Association of Awesomeness. We are tentatively reopening on Mother's Day, May 9th. Space is limited to 10 people, kids. So please call the office to make a reservation. Exciting news. Our new internet setup is in the mail. It's on its way and should arrive in 2 to 4 weeks. Let's pray it into being in 2 weeks. Thank you, and please enjoy the service.
Good morning. My name is John Haas, and I'm one of the licensed professional practitioners here. And what we like to do is pray and teach. So join me right now and recognize there's only one thing going on, one perfect creation, one all-encompassing power. We might call it God or Great Spirit, Buddha nature, but by any name, it is perfection in motion. It is all that is. It is everywhere and every when. And so it must be right here with me, right with you, wherever you are. This spirit and this power is holding us, loving us, supporting us, and acting in and through and as each one of us as we move through our day. And so I just know and claim for all of us that this coming week, this beautiful springtime weather, this outstanding place that we live and we call home here in Prescott or wherever you might be watching this or whenever you might be watching this. Just allow that good to act through you and as you. And since I know that this service is unfolding in perfection with just the right music, with our lovely Celia, with the words of wisdom from Reverend Kathleen, and from the help of all those people that help create this internet thing that has allowed us to be together and yet far apart. So I know and I claim that there is only one thing, and it is good. So I'm grateful for this knowing, and I just allow these words to be acted upon by the nature of love and law. And together we can all affirm it wherever we are by saying, and so it is.
Hello, my name is Celia Farron, and our beloved Jackson is away today, so I will be doing my very best to fill his shoes, which is impossible, but I will do my best for you today. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. You know how to sing it. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. We've got the light of love, we've got the light of love. We're gonna let it shine. We've got the light of love, we're gonna let it shine. We've got the light of love, we're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. One last time. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Thank you so much, Celia. Good morning. And this is a morning for change and new things to do. And the thing that has stayed the same is that my name is Reverend Kathleen Sibley. It is my joy, honor, and privilege to minister to you today. Please know that whoever you are, wherever you're watching from, whenever you're watching this, and no matter what judgments you've thrown at yourself or have thrown at you so far today, this morning you're entirely welcome here just as you are and just as you are not. Because we know that we're all here by divine appointment, whenever and however that works out. The Center for Spiritual Living exists to provide spiritual tools that transform our personal lives and make the world a better place. Our circle of licensed professional practitioners, who you met in Dr. John Haas just a moment ago, is here to help with that. So if there is anything that is taking you away from your joy, taking you into a sense of franticness or even cataclysmic changes, I invite you to be in contact with them. You can go to our website, which is scrolling below me right now, and you can check in with either one of the practitioners individually by going to the practitioner list and clicking on their happy little faces, or you can go and just put in a general prayer request and we'll all get them. And that is one of the ways in which you are supported by the Center for Spiritual Living, whether you are physically here or not. Other options include, starting this Monday, if you look at the newsletter, which is also on the website, you can see that we have a prayer and meditation group starting Monday night. Please email me personally before you join, because I will be admitting people as I recognize them. And that's another way you can get connected. We'll start off as a big group, and if little groups want to meet at their own time, then you will know how to do it. There are so many great ways to be connected. And I want to thank Celia for stepping up as we create the freedom and the space for Jackson to tour with another band in, I believe it's California this weekend. He was going to try and join us from a hotel room, but that was just a little bit too, Hotel California, and we want him to come back. Boy, won't he be surprised to find out the shoes he has to step into are stilettos. And one of the things that does not change is that we honor all paths to God. And so at the beginning of every service, we have a certain ritual we do. The Center for Spiritual Living honors all paths to God's, and all faith traditions. As we light a candle for the world's religions, it is to acknowledge both our multiplicity and our unity.
We light a candle for Christianity, based on the teachings of Jesus the Christ, who taught the path of love, forgiveness, and healing by the presence within.
For Islam, the practice of submitting to the will of God is revealed through his prophets, peace be upon them, who taught that there is one God, creator of the heavens and the earth.
For Judaism, a community of shared laws, traditions, and family ties, which began with the covenant between Abraham and God.
For Buddhism, the middle path that ends suffering and awakens mindfulness and compassion.
For Hinduism, the path of knowledge, action, and devotion.
For the Native American traditions and the traditions of all the indigenous peoples around the world, including the people of the sun that we know locally as the Yavapai.
For Baha'i, the path of unity and peace.
For all of the goddess traditions, embracing the divine feminine as maiden, mother, and crone.
And of course, for the science of mind, which is the philosophy of life that teaches there is a power for good in the universe and we can use it.
Thank you, John. And the best thing about being able to honor all the faith traditions, including our own, is that we never lose our own individuality in that. And so here within our center, we have an affirmation we share. We are here for God. Our purpose is to express the nature of God as love, abundance, and joy in everything we do. The good that we seek for ourselves is what we desire for all people everywhere. And so it is.
This is a song you may not know, but it's really easy to sing, so I invite you to sing along. Forgiveness is my way of being. I am at peace, I am at peace. Serenity's my way of being. I am at peace, I am at peace. Blissful is my way of being. I am at peace, I am at peace. Blissful is my way of being. I am at peace, I am at peace. Away I go to be among the trees. Away I go under the earth, I go to follow the roots to more peace. Tranquility's my way of being. I am at peace, I am at peace. Kindness is my way of being. I am at peace, I am at peace. Away I go to be among the trees. Away I go under the earth, I go to follow the roots to more peace. More peace, 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 more peace.
And we can all use more peace. And so we're going to take just a few moments of silence here during service. And I consider a great poem, Peace. We achieve when we do not expect anything from the world. Give unconditionally for peace. More peace. more peace. Today and throughout the week, imagine life with more peace. And you can bring it about in your life by unconditionally giving to yourself and to those around you. More peace. It's ours to have. Namaste.
Thank you, John. What brings you alive? And what breaks your heart? And what does healing look like? What are you willing to start to call our voices? To call our voices. Calling our voices. To the heart and the soul of the song. What makes your heart sing? And what tears you down? And what are you willing to dance for? Will you stand up and make a sound to call all voices? To call all voices. Calling all voices. Calling all voices. Calling all voices. To the heart and the soul of the song. And when you join the choir of the angels and let your authentic voice be heard, and will you dance to freedom and let your voice ring out around the world? Will you join me? Will you join me in calling all voices? Calling all voices. Calling all voices. To the heart and the soul, for the love of it all. To the heart and the soul of the song, of the song. To the heart and the soul of the song. To the heart and the soul of the song. To the heart and the soul of the song.
Oh, that was yummy. Thank you, Celia. So we're talking about the winds of change, and so we had a little changing up in there, didn't we? It is my joy to say that Jackson will be back next week, and it is also my joy to have Celia here with us this week. I know she is a favorite amongst CSL peers, and oh, that doesn't sound good. CSL Prescottonians, how's that? It cracked me up. So sometimes change happens and we're not even aware of it. And sometimes it's weird, and sometimes it's great, and sometimes we both want Jackson to come back and want to keep Celia here all the time. So today we're going to talk about the winds of change. And it's pretty, it's interesting to me because we have been through so much change. This center in particular has been through a lot of change in the past year. We've been through even more change in the past few months. And one of the changes that many of us were looking forward to is coming back into the center. And I'm here to tell you and to just raise and praise our tech team that Jackson and Nina Rochette and Clay and Seamus Smith and I were in the center for a couple hours. I feel like I'm missing somebody, but we were in the building for a couple hours trying to get to a point where I at least could broadcast from the center, even if we had to keep the rest of the people on their individual bandwidth. And it started off challenging, and it kept getting worse and worse to the point where it started, my brand new tablet started freezing up, and the delay went from, the delay between what was going on the screen and what was going on in the room started at about 15 seconds, which doesn't sound like much. It feels very long. It feels even longer when it gets up to closer to a minute. We pushed every button we could find, and what we figured out was that this was not how it was going to work. And so luckily, we know that our new internet service should be here within 2 to 4 weeks. We'll be able to start bringing lots of people back into the center in terms of who is doing service. And we will be keeping a close eye on what the CDC has to say about how many people we can have in the room and how we might seat people on the patio, and how to bring the kids back and how to have them safely in the building. All of it is happening, and that's the thing about change. The ones you want seem to happen very quietly and slowly. The ones that you weren't expecting or are not happy, excited about, seem to smack you in the face, don't they? At least they do with me. So here's the thing. All of the practitioners, and not practitioners, but ministers of the Centers for Spiritual Living, and there's about 850 of us, get together and do this thing where we create, each year, we create a theme for the year and then titles, and then if we choose to, we can even look online and find ideas for the individual talks. And my friend Reverend Bethlyn Gurry, who is over in Geneva, Switzerland, actually helped create this week's talk. And she talks about this place called Lake Leman, or Leman, probably, I doubt it's Lehman, but it's near Geneva in Switzerland. And it's situated between the Alps and the Jura Mountains. And when you have that many mountains, you're going to have some funky winds. So she says there's about 70 different wind patterns going on in that one lake at any given time. And when things go, when the winds die down, basically the sailors and the people who are sailing their boats around this really awesome, beautiful lake have to watch for the ripples in the water. So they have to look for the signs. And never mind where they thought they were going, they try and get into the flow of where those ripples are so that the wind can take them where they want to be eventually. But they have learned you have to act within natural laws or you're going to be stuck. So we watch for the signs and the maybe some people would even call them omens and portents, but we look for what's going on in our physical world to tell us how we are using the natural laws, what we would call the law of cause and effect, in order to get where we want to go. And so one of the signs I look for is this becoming less than joyful? Celia's song was wonderful about what will you stand for and what brings you joy and what really drains the life from you. And as I stood there on the platform or stepped down from the platform as we were trying to make it work and watched Seamus stand at the podium, and some of you know Kid Minister he will be taking over for me as soon as he's allowed to drive. As I went through that process, I just watched all of us get less and less joyful, get less and less happy, get more and more tense and trying desperately to speak well to each other. And I just felt the energy of love and power that usually feels like Sunday just drain out of me. And that's why I eventually made the call. I'm not doing this. I will not be physically present in the center if what that means is I'm fighting against the natural law that says we don't yet have the bandwidth we need to do something that we can all enjoy. Now, unbeknownst to many of you, there's this wonderful change going on. Maybe some of you didn't know that we were about to get new internet. And again, I send my thanks to Tom Kimmerly for discovering that as an option. I send my thanks to the practitioners who prayed it into being. I send my thanks to all of us as we pray it into being even faster. We're going to be the 2 weeks, not the 4, right, guys? So as I watch that happen and as I know that the good is coming, my job is to rest in trusting that and not try to push. Not try to force it to happen faster and end up with something that just makes everybody miserable. The other thing that's going on that most people can't see is as I'm watching the numbers. And what I'm finding is that we are actually at almost our old numbers on Sundays. Although we can only seat about 25 in the sanctuary, we're still hanging out at around 100 during the live stream. And if you wait and look at the numbers a little bit further out after people have had a chance to have their house parties and watch together in their homes, which, by the way, is an option for anyone who has friends in their safe circle and a smart TV that they can watch it on YouTube. It's one way of getting away with eating and drinking during service. We actually are averaging anywhere from 150 to 200 per Sunday that are being served by this very thing we're doing right now. 150 to 200 people are invisible to each other unless you sign in online, unless you happen to be sitting together at the center. Most of the power behind a Sunday service, the power of reaching people, is not visible to us. And so even if you think you're sitting on a becalmed lake outside of Geneva and you think there's no wind, trust that your leadership is watching for the ripples and steering our shared ship, or boat anyway, in the direction of natural law. This is happening. And here's the thing, we suffer when we try to push things into being. When we try and effort something into being, we're working really hard to make this prayer work, and we're praying so loud and so big and so strong, and from a place of fear, because we are afraid God actually won't answer our prayer. We are not working with the natural law. We are working from our own egos. We are working from our own sense of hyper responsibility. Especially here in America, we are taught that we must pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps. Anyone ever heard that one? Do you know that that phrase started out as asking someone to do the impossible? No one pulls themselves up by their own bootstraps. What we believe here is that I can't do it for you, but you don't have to do any of this alone either. We depend on the divine within each and every one of us to lift us up and get things done. And I invite everyone to start playing with the idea that suffering and efforting is not good spiritual practice. I usually say the best spiritual practice is the one you do. But in this case, I'm going to suggest to you that suffering and martyrdom are a spiritual practice whose time, if it ever was, has passed. I am going to invite you to join me in knowing that when we are working with the natural law, when we are paying good close attention to the voice of the Christ or the Buddha within each and every one of us when we listen deeply for that voice, even when it tells us to do something weird, like in my case this week, don't show up at the office for work on Sunday. Okay, fine. If we are really listening and in touch with, that's what people used to call the still small voice. Mine tends to yell a lot. If we're in touch with that, everything can happen effortlessly. People can be opened up with joy, and we get to learn from our joy and be pulled by a vision rather than pushed by our pain, rather than learning from suffering. Ernest Holmes, who founded this philosophy, says that we have learned all we have to from suffering, and it's time we learn to live from joy. Another thing he wrote is that the divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. So how do we get to that freedom? We figure out where those ripples are. We start paying attention to the natural laws and the information we get back from our world. If you look at your physical world, at the physical world, a religious scientist will see that as a reflection or a report card on what we had been believing right up to that moment. So if you are feeling unloved, if you are feeling unwelcome, if you are feeling like your life is a struggle, then there is some part of your mind, more than likely subconscious, that has been holding the belief that life has to be hard, that money doesn't grow on trees and you should pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. And, the harder you push, the faster that you'll get to that yes. What if it's just bad information that you were given? That's nobody's fault. This is not about blame, but it is about taking responsibility for the world you choose to live in. Now, when I say responsibility, when we as religious scientists say responsibility, what we're talking about is the ability to respond to whatever's going on. It is the control you actually do have and the power you actually do have to create your life as you would have it. And collectively, we create the world that works for everyone by taking responsibility for whether or not we are part of that world and living as part of that world. And there are so many ways and different levels of how we do that. Part of my personal practice is to sit in my prayer chair every single day and take a look at, what does my life look at? Where am I still in the habit of struggle or suffering? And what am I really trying to do there? What is the belief that I am holding that keeps me in that? That sense that maybe I'm not working hard enough, and therefore that means I'm lazy, rather than in tune with spirit and thus allowing spirit to do the work. Guess which one gets me further? I could continue suffering. I resign from that position. Thank you very much. And no, I'm not giving 2 weeks notice. I'm giving a lifetime. As a matter of fact, I'm getting credit for time served. So here in this moment, I invite you to join me in learning the natural laws. What are those natural laws? The primary one that we talk about here is that as we think, so we are. Whatever our beliefs are, and those include our conscious and unconscious beliefs, that is what we live. That is what shows up in our world. We get more and more evidence because the law of cause and effect can only say yes. It's kind of like we used to play with silly putty and smush it down on a comic book or on the funny, newspapers. Those are paper. Kids, you'll catch up in a second. Basically, it's garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you program the computer to do is what it's going to do. You have a computer going on up here. If you have bad data, it's going to act on the bad data. If you have good data and you have a good operating system without glitches, then it's going to work really well. How's that? Okay, I just lost half of the group to silly putty and the other half of the group to how computers' guts work. But that's okay. We're all here together and we get it. It comes down to, we live in this physical world and and there are things that we can do to make life easier at the physical level. In the Christian scriptures, in the book of Matthew, as a matter of fact, it's Matthew 17, there's a parable where Jesus and his crew get to Capernaum, And they're coming into town, and the tax collector shows up and says, we need two, whatever they were, 2 pennies from each person, and that's your tax for entering in the town. Think of it as a hospitality tax. Jesus was very clear that he didn't live according to human rules, but he also wasn't worried about them. So just to make life easy, he looked at one of his disciples, and said to him, look, we don't need to fuss with this. We don't owe anyone anything, but go fishing. Remember, most of his disciples were actually fishermen. Go fishing. The first, let down your line. The first fish you pull in will have a coin in its mouth. And that coin was enough to pay their tax for all of them. Or for both of them, I should say. And so we use natural law that the world, in Jesus's case, he knew that everything he needed came to him immediately. And so he was directed by an inner voice to send someone to go fishing. Does that make sense? Do you, like, when you get your tax bill, you go fishing? You might want to. But in order to pay your tax bill, do you go fishing? And just kind of spend a day by the lake? That doesn't make a lot of sense. But Jesus was so in touch with his Christed self. And he was not the only Christ that has ever been on the planet, by the way. If you're wondering who else, go look in the mirror. Jesus was so in touch with his Christed self, he could have said, go, look on that shelf over there towards the back. There's a shekel that's been left in the back and it's all covered with dirt. But his internal truth said, go fishing, grab the fish, the coin will be in its mouth, pay the silly old tax. We're not worried about it, but let's make this easy. This is how we can choose to live. We call Jesus the master teacher. We call him the great example, but not the great exception. What Jesus and Buddha and all the other master teachers that have ever been on the planet, all the other Christs and enlightened ones and teachers have ever done is come here to tell us how we can work with the natural law. Natural laws make life so much better. And if we will choose to use them, figure out what the principle is behind the, all the bells and whistles and the things we add for religion purposes and cultural purposes, if we will figure that out, then we actually do get to live a much simpler, happier life. In The Philosophy of Jesus, which is one of the less known books written by Ernest Holmes talks about no one needs to tell the chicken to sit down on those eggs and hatch them. There's a principle at work that the chicken doesn't question. We can use the same principle by putting fertilized eggs into an incubator. It's the same principle. We're not chickens. I am not going to try and sit around on eggs in order to have breakfast next week or, fried chicken for dinner or whatever it is. I'm not going to sit around trying to brood eggs myself, but I can take the principle of keeping them warm and keeping them safe and not letting anyone break them and create chickens for myself. I don't particularly need chickens right now, but it's a great example, and it's the one Ernest Holmes put in front of me this week, and so I obey and use it. Here's the thing. One of the ripples you will see across the lake of your life is something bringing you joy or not. If it is bringing you joy, if it is serving you, if it is serving your growth, comfortable or not, keep doing it. You are working with natural law in order to create the life that works for you. If you are doing something out of obligation, if you are in a position that no longer brings you joy, take a look at that. And maybe it's time for you to stop doing it. One of the rules I used to have and have returned to is if somebody tells me they're done with their volunteer position, I no longer get to argue. I don't get to guilt them into staying just because it's convenient for me. When I tell somebody, follow the spirit within you, I don't get to add in little, unless it's inconvenient. The truth is that if your spirit is telling you it's time to move on and do something different, or, stop meditating for an hour and a half in the morning and start meditating for an hour and a half at night, your soul is trying to tell you something. You should try it. You should listen to you. You're really smart. The Christ within you is really, really good at this game. And so I invite you to begin looking at Where in your life are you working with natural laws, and where are you working way too hard to do things all by yourself? One of the best tools that we have that helps us stay within natural law is our spiritual mind treatment. And this is where we change how we think by rising up into our own Christ consciousness, into our own experience of the one mind, in order to see more clearly and let go of false beliefs and gather good data. And so I invite you to join me now as we go into prayer. This prayer that we call spiritual mind treatment. If you want to close your eyes, that's fantastic. If you want to open them, fine. It's entirely up to you. See what works for you. But I close my eyes so that I might open and focus from the single eye, the internal eye. Standing witness now that God is all there is. That this good, this energy of life, that this web of life is the only thing that is inherent in the universe. There is only God. There is no second power that's trying to get in the way. There is God, period. God is life itself. God is love itself. God is joy and bliss and that peace and more peace about which we sang. God is grace. It is the unearned good that comes of simply being one with the divine. And we are all one with the divine. There is nothing else to be. There is no place outside of God to go. And so I now accept in this moment that all beings are one in God, one of God. And the truth of our being is that love and light and peace and power and poise. And so anything that looks unlike that, I just let go of as old information, bad data, outdated data, things that no longer serve that we used to believe. I bless and celebrate the opportunity to stand in this truth and to stand witness and speak this word on behalf of everyone, every sentient being, this entire planet, this entire universe. That God is, and God is all there is, and we are part of that, and so we are peace. I claim ease and grace for all of us. I claim that our birthright is wholeness and prosperity and joy, actual joy, that goes all the way down to our DNA because it is our birthright. It's who we really are. I let go of everything that looks unlike that, and it ceases to be. And all of that beautiful energy just pours into creating the world that works for everyone. And it is blessed and a blessing. And so with a very grateful heart, with joy and the ecstasy of coming home to truth, I simply allow the law of cause and effect to go to work on this. It's already been seen in the one mind. It has been witnessed by us. And now it moves into form according to natural law. I call it good and very good. And let it be. And so it is.
We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the joy wash over us. We let it be. We let the grace wash over us. We let it be. We let
Oh, we certainly do let it be. And we let it be the good that shows up in form for all of us. And so this is the time we talk about tithes and offerings. If this is the place where you get spiritually fed, then I invite you to support the Center for Spiritual Living in Prescott. You can text your tithe. You can donate online. I am so grateful to the people who responded so beautifully to our announcement last week that we were down by about 50% in terms of tithes and offerings. I will tell you that while we did have payroll protection plan, we have used that money up for 2021. And so we are back to being self-supporting through our own contributions. And I just invite you to tell the universe that this is serving you and you actually do want more of it by supporting as you are able. And we do this with a high consciousness. So whatever your gift is, I ask you to hold it over your heart. If you're like me and you're all set up on auto tithe, and I ask you to hold up what looks like an empty hand over your heart and just give up your consciousness in this moment. And say with me our dedication. Divine love in and through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, life. And thank you, Celia, for coming back and singing for us again.
Thank you so much. And thank you for that message. I needed to hear every single word of that. You were speaking to my soul. Thank you. 'Cause I'm bringing in the light. Been in the darkness for too long. I'm bringing in the light. I'm bringing in the light by the way of a song. It's the love I give turns to happiness. Bringing in the joy, bringing in the light, bringing in the bliss. I'm dropping the worry, I'm dropping the shame, I'm dropping the guilt, I'm dropping the blame, I'm dropping the walls, I'm dropping the windows, dropping the doors. I'm dropping who's wrong, I'm dropping who's right, I'm dropping my put 'em up and fight. I'm dropping the roof, I'm dropping the porch, I'm dropping the floors. And I'm bringing in the light. Been in the darkness for too long. I'm bringing in the light. I'm bringing in the light by the way of a song. It's the love I give turns to happiness. Bringing in the joy, bringing in the light, bringing in the bliss. I'm dropping the plan, I'm dropping the plot, I'm dropping the twist me up in knots. I'm dropping the past, prevailing over what's in store. I'm dropping the scarcity of enough. I'm dropping that constellated stuff. I'm dropping the points, I'm dropping the game, I'm dropping the score. 'Cause I'm bringing in the light. Been in the darkness for too long. I'm bringing in the light. I'm bringing in the light by the way of a song. It's the love I give turns to happiness. Bringing in the joy, bringing in the light, bringing in the bliss. And everything's gonna be fine as I let my heart's light shine. 'Cause I'm bringing in the light. Been in the darkness for too long. I'm bringing in the light. I'm bringing in the light by the way of a song. It's the love I give turns to happiness. Bringing in the joy, bringing in the light, bringing in the bliss. Yeah, bringing in the light. Been in the darkness for too long. Bringing in the light. Bringing in the light by the way of a song. It's the love, love, love turns to happiness. Bringing in the joy, bringing in the light, bringing in the bliss. Yeah, I'm bringing in the joy, bringing in the light, bringing in the bliss. Yeah, I'm bringing in the bliss.
Yay, I love that song. So it has been blissful to be here with all of you today. Please do check out your newsletter. If you think you signed up for the newsletter and you didn't receive it, please check your junk mail. We do seem to have a problem with that, with the group emails going into everybody's bulk mail or junk mail. There is a link if you are interested in the prayer and meditation groups. There are tons of other beautiful pieces of information, and there is just good stuff to know. I am also sending out constant contact letters about weekly, about where we are and how things are changing, and just trying to find a way to be in touch with as many people as possible. If you have a friend from the center you know does not receive all of that stuff, feel free to print it out and bring it over to them. You can always just shove it through their door and not have to be in contact if you're not comfortable with that. So lots of love to everybody. Thank you so much for being part of this. Let us do our benediction, which I expect everybody will be standing up and jumping around to, as they say, with great fervor. And we will sing our way out with the peace song after that. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is happening through my mind, my body, and my affairs. I think it, I believe it, I feel it, I know it, I accept it. Thank you, life.
Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, we're a family. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me, and this is the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment with peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me.